Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Tuesday recital here at King's Chapel on the hottest day of the year. You are already sold us. Usually I compliment people for coming out in a blizzard, but this is almost rivals that. It's great to have you here, and it's suitable that we have some hot new talents for you that you get to hear today. This is one of our cherished annual traditions, the Young Organists Initiative Showcase Recital. It's a wonderful scholarship program that's run by the Boston chapter of the American Guild of Organists. And we have the chair of the committee, Jeremy Bruns, here today to tell us a little bit more about this as we go along, in case you're not familiar with the program. And you may know some young organists that can come and play next year. We're here every Tuesday, as you can tell, no matter how hot it gets, all through the summer. Hopefully it won't be as hot every Tuesday as we go along. Please come join us as often as you can. There's a basket at the door. You can grab a little postcard there and see what's coming up in the next month. And also there is a basket. You can put any money you'd like into there, and we'll give it to Jeremy and keep this wonderful scholarship program going for hopefully many years to come. I think that's about all I need to tell you. Please give a warm welcome to our first performer, Catherine Cumming.
While Catherine is getting situated, I just want to echo what Heinrich said. Thank you for being here with us this afternoon. I'm Jeremy Bruns, the chair of the Young Organist Initiative, and it's especially wonderful to have this many people braving the heat to enjoy this performance today. So extra cookies at the imaginary reception for you afterwards. And it just so happens we're going in age order today. That was not on purpose, but it worked out that way. So we're beginning actually with our youngest organ scholar this year, Catherine, who is only 12 years old, just completed 6th grade, and this was her first year of organ study. She's playing 3 pieces, a trio by Joseph Reinberger, a short prelude by French composer César Franck, and then sticking with the Parisian theme, a grand toccata, basically by Salome. If you would, hold your applause until the end of her performance, that would be great. Funny story. Well, Ilario is getting situated. Yesterday, Catherine was practicing here in the church, and tourists, as they often do, come in. They enter the entryway. Some decided to pay this very small entry fee and actually come in. Others just check it out and move on. But in any case, a young family wandered in the entryway, and a child said to the mother, "Is someone in there really actually playing that music?" And the mother said to the child, "Oh no, that's all automated now. No one plays that music anymore." Thankfully, the tour guide down there quickly corrected them. "Oh no, we'll have you know, this is an actual instrument being played." They didn't realize it was just by a 12-year-old, but in any case, that's one of the beauties of this program, is hoping to inspire and encourage young organists to study, consider the instrument. Maybe they go on, as you'll see later, to actually major in music and perhaps make that a career. Others just for study and then doing other things. But if you happen to know of a young, talented keyboardist, especially if they already take piano, someone who might be interested in exploring the organ, this would be a program to check out. So you can look me up online, look up the American Guild of Organists, and there's plenty of information so we can give you what you need to explore that. So we move on up in the age ranks. We now have a 13-year-old second-year organ student playing, first of all, a piece by one of my favorite composers, Anonymous. We don't know who wrote it, but we do think they were Italian, which is appropriate. Ilario is at least quite a large amount of Italian. So we'll start with that toccata, and then we follow that by another semi-anonymous piece, prelude formerly attributed to J.S. Bach. It's probably one of his students or fellow colleagues who actually wrote it. Again, if we'll hold to applause until the end. Thank you. up the age train. Our next artist only turned 16 about 3 days ago, so we can still wish her a happy birthday after the performance. And she will be entering the junior year study next year, junior in high school. Playing 3 pieces for you. We have some repeat composers. They are obviously favorites. We're starting out with César Franck. And then another rendition of the Rheinberger, which you've heard. See if you recognize it. There are differences in interpretation and registration, which is always fun. And then we're ending with a fun, fiery toccata by Johann Pachelbel. and is actually going off to my alma mater, Eastman School of Music, to study with my old professor, David Higgs. He's still teaching, which is wonderful. So, no, in all seriousness, congratulations, and I look forward to seeing how things blossom after that experience. And just to say, our first of the next two pieces on the program is one of my favorites of all time. This is by current living composer Odd Vamas, who lives in Amsterdam. And this piece, Miroir, is not a new piece, but it sort of launched his career in the organ writing world. And I don't want to go on too much about it, but I would describe it as New Age minimalism. The right hand plays the same thing every measure of the piece. It never changes. So 140 measures, you hear the right hand. Is this on? So in this tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all the right hand does. And the genius of this composer is that he uses the left hand and both feet to create all the context around that. And it's quite amazing, actually. He speaks of this piece, the title Mirror, sort of creating a hypnotic effect, and like lights or rays beaming around, beams of light. Let's see. Following that, we have Mendelssohn's Second Sonata, all 4 movements straight through. So again, if you want to hold applause until the very end, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.